who is Aron?
I'm just a humble guy, tendency to look at life in chapters. As you get older, you're getting towards the latter chapters of your life. I guess from professional standpoint is a thrill of accomplishment. There was a time in early on, you were working because you had to make money. I guess ignorance is bliss. I just quit. I said, listen, I'm the one who is to do all this testing in these plants. I spent evenings, nights, and very crucial. We had to give performance technical guarantees, technical presentations.
Hello, my friend. Welcome to Bold Conscious Connections. So this channel is dedicated to exploring the journeys of visionary leaders, entrepreneurs, who really dare to follow their dreams, their passions, and create really impactful businesses. So if you're looking to become an entrepreneur or otherwise seeking inspiration to elevate your career, well, you're in the right place, my friend. So on this channel, what I do is we delve into strategies, mindsets, stories behind the success of those that have done this before, like I have. My guest today is Aron Govil. He's an operator, an artist, as I see it, builder of industrial systems, cultural narratives, someone who's lived on the intersection of capital, creativity, power, and identity across geographies. Welcome to the show, Aron.
Thank you, Raju. I'm glad to be here.
So the first question I usually ask my guests, and that mostly throws them, is like, hey, who is Aron? Not what he does, but who he is.
Well, I'm just a humble guy who is doing his best to have a great time and make the best of things in his life. I'm fortunate to be surrounded with good friends and family, and I try to enjoy as much as I can of every moment of the life that I have.
Good. So we got cut off earlier, so I'm going to re-ask the question. Maybe you didn't hear it. I've seen you firsthand, and we know each other for almost 40 years. So I'm really honored to know you.
And I can reciprocate that also, Raju, because I've known you. You were MD at Morgan Stanley, and you spearheaded their expansion in India, and we spent time together there. So we've had and shared some very good times together.
Yep, there and here in New York and other places, yes. Sure. So if your life were divided into chapters, what chapter are you in right now? And second part of that question is, what's the central question you're living with?
You have obviously a tendency to look at life in chapters. As you get older, you're getting towards the latter chapters of your life. So from that standpoint, yes, I am towards the latter part, towards the end of the book or chapters in life.
I hope that's not the end of the chapter, because you have so much, you're so active and you're so fully charged as I know you.
Well, that's where I was coming at. But I feel that at this point, over the years, having, written these chapters and experienced this, that I have gained so much experience and so much knowledge and all that. So that I'm enjoying things and having a good time, because at this point, I would say, what is the main incentive to do things still, I guess, from professional standpoint is a thrill of accomplishment. There was a time in early on, you were working because you had to make money. From that standpoint, yes, I'm towards the end of the chapters, I would say, have lived a nice life. The main thing is we still a lot to do, because the world around us is changing very rapidly, as we've seen in last 25 years. So there's new stuff happening, new technologies, and I'm always curious and excited about that. And I always want to learn them and see how I can benefit, improve myself. So this is just part of what is out there, and be staying connected with it.
Okay, so we're going to go a little deeper now. So what did the young Aron believe success would look like, what it would fix for you, what it would do for you, and how has that changed? So maybe a little background of, where you were raised and sort of where'd you go to college? And of course, I know you launched your businesses and so on, but we can come to that.
Raju, I would say I didn't have a sense that I want to be successful, honestly. You really don't have that. You want to do things, what your interests are, and you want to get into that. Actually, when I was young, my father had moved from India. I was only like 13 years old. I was in 10th grade here in high school. He was a mathematics professor. That's how he moved the whole family. And in those days, immigration was open and there was not that many people of Indian origin here that much.
In the 70s?
Yeah, it was actually, very early 70s. So my interest was always been in science and science, maybe astronomy and space and all that. But so when I was going to college, Dad was, I said, well, I want to major in this and that. He said, no, son, you what are you going to do after that? You're going to be a teacher or what? So he said, you have to do something where you can get a good paying job. So I did not know at that time that I want to be a big businessman or successful or anything like that. I just wanted to pursue my scientific passions. So I said, well, what do I need to do? He said, well, he looked at the latest data and he said, son, chemical engineers are making the maximum money in those days. Okay. So you should do engineering. Even in engineering, I want to do civil engineering. So that went out of the window. So then chemical engineering it was. So
because Dad said so.
That's what did it. And then obviously after I graduated, I got a job. I had several job offers and I selected one, and I was working in a company, and then I would come home on weekends or, to spend time with my parents. And my dad was, I would say he was the one who said, so how's your work? What are you doing? And I said, well, I like my work. I enjoy it. He said, yeah, but you can't be an engineer all your life. I said, what do you mean? He said, you get into business. I said, Dad, I don't know business. What business?
Was he a businessman after he
No,
was a professor?
he was not, but he built a very successful life through investments. He saved a lot of money. He invested in real estate, the stock market. He always thought very big, actually. And his story is also different because he also, in India, we didn't come from a very wealthy family. So his parents did not have the resources to send him to an engineering college and all that. So he studied and he was a mathematics and he was very bright. And so he became a teacher. So he would always we would talk, whenever I would come home on weekends and all that, we'll have long discussions. You need somebody like that in the formative early years because, and I saw that a lot of my friends and people who would come here, if they did not have somebody to guide them and all that, they probably just did what they wanted to do on their own and floundered and just learned through the things. So in that way, I was very fortunate, I would say. That,
I guess I'm one of those.
Yeah.
I just floundered. I did my thing and no mentorship, no guidance.
No, but then some of those people turn out good also. I shouldn't pass value judgment on it.
Yeah,
but
no, we're not. We're just saying
a lot of them maybe don't. It's good if you can get early on. So that's how I would say it was in my mind that I have to figure out a way that I want to get into a business. So that's what, after working few years, situation happened where I just decided to quit. And there is a story about that as well.
So that's the story I want to focus on, because what made you suddenly say, well, apart from Dad's encouragement to be an entrepreneur, go get your business going, what was the switch right before that?
I'll tell you the story. The story is I was working at that time, a chemical firm in Delaware. After 3-4 years, I said, I want to change. And that also, my father said, yeah, it's time to change now. You've been here 3-4 years. So I got a job for a Danish company in Denmark. They had developed a new concept for air pollution control for power plants. Okay, a new technology. Because EPA had just been formed in the 70s.
Right.
And all the power plants, fossil fuel power plants, had to install air pollution control equipment. So that was a big business, and they were established technology. So this Danish company, they were in milk drying business, spray drying, and they figured out that using spray dryer, the gas could also absorb sulfur dioxide, which is generated when you burn coal, which has sulfur.
Sure.
Or oil, which has sulfur. They hired me. I joined them. For 2 years, I was their test manager. We set up pilot plants in 2 or 3 power plants across US, and I was doing a lot of traveling. And we demonstrated, because it was a new technology. And as you know, power plants will not buy anything unless it's a proven technology because of reliability issues.
Sure.
So what happened was I stayed there, we conducted tests, and I would say within a year, they were very successful. And this company started getting orders for pollution control plants. And these are, 300-400 megawatt plants. And each order is, to the tune of 20, 30, 40, $50 million, depending on the scope and the size. So over the next couple of years, this company, when I joined in the US operation, was very small. There were only 5-6 people. We had grown to like 200 people. Okay. And the companies also got business close to like $700-800 million in that 3-year period. We booked jobs after job, and I was traveling. My boss was a Danish guy. We used to travel together. I mean, those were good times. And we had Concorde. I would fly the Concorde from one place to the other. And just living the life, the good life, because the company was making money hands over fist.
Right.
And so what happened then was the operation grew so much. Now the US operation was very big and they hired people. And then they said, okay, now we need to settle you down and you will work out of US operation. And then they said, you will report to this guy who I had trained 2 years ago. But things were different in those days because see, being an Indian, there was not that many Indians in those times. I'm talking about late 70s, early 80s. So there was certain amount of, for the lack of better word, let's say discrimination, here, there, like that. So they said, Aaron, you are our main technical guy. You are still the top. You will report to Sven Hoffman in Copenhagen. I said, no, that's not true. Because I'm going to be reporting to Steve Kaplan here. And I trained this guy. I should be the head of here, vice president, general manager. Back and forth, we went this time. They said, no, he's 6'3", blonde, blue eyes. He's going. No. You. They said no. Ultimate decision made. Aron Govil maybe we'll give you a director, test director, but you're going to be reporting to him. And I guess ignorance is bliss. And maybe I just quit. I said, listen, I'm the one who is to do all this testing in these plants. I spend evenings, nights, and very crucial. We had to give performance, technical guarantees, technical presentations. So I quit my job. And that's the time actually also I had just gotten married. I had met Vandana and then I told her, listen, I have a great job. I fly around the world. We go in Concorde, this, that. And believe it or not, she landed in a month, I forget, I don't know, June. And in August, I quit my job. I said, I'm going to do my own thing. Huh?
There goes the Concorde.
There goes the Concordes. And so then I said, okay, what do I know about business, starting business or anything? But I had done a lot of marketing. I had contact, but these were large systems. It's like when you are working for a big company, you have the wings of that huge company, that supports you. And here as a single person, I said, well, and so young, I was in my 20s, and late 20s. So nobody would even take you seriously. Forget about buying a multi-million-dollar equipment from you. So it took me a few months to really figure out what exactly is it that I'm going to be doing. Obviously, I had saved a lot of money during those periods with bonuses and all the incentives I had gotten. So money was not an issue, but still the life was very different than what I was living earlier. There was no more glamorous life, travels. And so for my wife, she understood coming from India and all that. But that was a tough period for me. I did not get a single order, single business. I was doing consulting for almost a year. It was one of those. And then a lot of my colleagues who had been working with me, they were flourishing. I would meet them. He's doing very well. He's moved on to another company because big companies are getting bigger. And Aron Govil here was going nowhere. But the thing was, I had a good family support system. My dad would say, it's okay. And I would tell him, Dad, you told me I should be in business, but look at it, So I actually even interviewed couple of places and I was in demand because I had a good technical knowledge. And finally, actually, I did get an offer from a company in California. But right after that, then when I got it, I landed a job, consulting job, with a company in Los Alamos. They wanted to put a system. They needed somebody to design the whole thing and all that. So I got my first project. So I had to make a decision. Do I take the job and get back or should I stick to start my business? So I think my wife also said, look, you've been working hard. You've been doing, let's just take this job and work with the business side, whatever.
As a job, as a
business, not accept a position which I was not getting. It was a very good position.
So continue your consulting thing and be your own entrepreneur.
I would just consult and do the work. Because for 1 year, I had not gotten any work. I was living off my savings. So I decided, I did that. And obviously, that worked out. So that was a start. Once you get something going, then one thing led to another. So gradually I started getting one by one more business, slowly small projects here and there. So it started to putter along the business, kind of thing. So that's how it was that started out. So initial period was not very good. And sometimes I wondered if I made the right decision or not. Even after a few years, there were difficult times about that. As you start with a new business, what happens is even I would say a few years later, I landed a project. I think it was few $1 million. But then how do you execute it? you don't have the money to execute. It's not one thing, but just you learn a lot, and it just, you grow up very fast. In those days, we, having not worked at a high level in the corporate, I didn't have the experience there also. So just had to rely on family and friends and people support and guidance to learn on the fly. So, that's is a little
That's
bit of the
awesome.
story. There are many stories like that.
Yep. Well, I have my stories, of course, but yeah, that's amazing. Success for you at the time, obviously, because you're early in your life, meant some money. Wealth was a big part of the success definition, correct? And plus your own ability to say, well, what am I capable of? And how come I am in business I cannot execute or create the wealth you want? So what is a belief about power? And power, leadership, I mean, I'm not using them interchangeably, but it's one or the other. But let's say leadership, personal leadership, or having an authoritative position somewhere that you had to unlearn the hard way. What's a belief about that power or leadership that you'd unlearn the hard way?
It comes from experience, dealing with people, being in a role where you are put in, you have to accomplish something, do something, and create a successful outcome with whatever resources you have. I mean, along with this business side, I also always had interest in the arts, So
Yes.
like in college, we started Miss India America beauty pageant. Okay. Because there was no such thing. There was no India Club. We started that. I was running for student senate. I was senator. So we got funding for it. So when we were doing the pageants, we would call film stars from India to crown the pageant. So conducting those pageants, getting on the stage, talking to people, audience, and doing that stuff, it gives you confidence. It gives you ability, how you have to conduct and do things like that. So that also prepares you in a lot of ways and things like that.
Yeah.
That led us to do over the years, during my early years, while I was doing business also, which you probably, I think, may or may not have known, is we did a lot of Bollywood shows.
Yes,
in
I'm
those
aware.
days, actors.
I used to see Govil Entertainment
Govil
and all
Entertainment.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You and your
So
brother.
that was also very interesting because in those days we didn't have so many channels and TVs and video online media. So for people who living abroad, they could see a movie, and the only way for them to connect with their favorite film stars was if we could bring them for a stage show like that.
Yes.
So that also required dealing with people, personalities and things of that nature. So it prepares you in a way with all these qualities are needed, whether it's in a corporate world, in a business world, or in any world, because you want to have a successful outcome. Ultimately, what is leadership? You can obviously rule something with a force or with weapons where no one has a choice, but that's
right.
not what we're talking about. The idea is to willingly let people follow you and do or accomplish with the resources and have a successful outcome of whatever is it that you're doing.
Right.
So it was a process, I would say, which I had been involved with throughout my life. So I learned it because in every experience, you realize the things you did wrong and you didn't do right, and you correct yourself. So there was no one point, I would say, where I could say that, well, listen, I thought that leadership was like this or not like that. At every stage, whether, when you're dealing with making a presentation in early on with businesses, with leaders trying to sell something, you have a different demeanor where they're the boss. When you're dealing on the other side with a vendor, you have to have a different type of leadership, okay?
Yes.
And a different role like that. So you learn different hats, how you wear it. So you need the flexibility of this thing. So that's important in life. Leadership is not always, leading people and all that stuff. You have to be accountable, and ultimately you're the one who benefits or loses from that,
That's right. Now we're focusing a lot on your industrial business, and that's how you started, and technical, etc. And then you had this side gig with your brother to do this.
Yeah.
So how do you reconcile the precision of engineering with the ambiguity of, I would say, arts or even storytelling, right? Because you've had very interesting and successful movies you've made, directed, produced, etc., etc. So how do you reconcile those two? Because you're a precision engineer, chemical engineer, and here on the other hand, you have the interest in arts, which is also inborn, right? Apart from your mental and sharp talent for technical stuff.
Surprisingly, you'd be maybe surprised to know that many of, even in Bollywood or even Hollywood, a lot of the successful directors and all that have come from engineering background and technical background. So it's difficult to say. I think it's if you have a passion, and sometimes, you are forced into a field like that, you learn it and you are there, but that doesn't mean that passion goes away. It is still there, and it just everything, any aspect, whether that's what I say, like people travel, they go here, there, travel experience. I think everything adds up and adds value to
Sure.
what you are able to do. So in the art and entertainment film industry, it's a creative field, very creative field.
Yeah.
You create something from nothing, and then a lot of people like it, or of course don't like it, if you don't do a good job. But you're hoping that you do a great job, and people admire, like the films. What is satisfying is if it's on YouTube and that you get comments from people, oh my God, I love the music, I love that. It feels good that you created something that people like that. Okay. Same thing in the engineering field. I mean, that's more of we have to design a system that has to perform for years and years, and it complies and it does what it's supposed to do.
Right.
So I think you do need a certain amount of skill set in any of that field, both the fields, regardless of what it is.
So in your artistic field, did you cultivate that or learned it along the way, the creative side?
I guess I did not have any formal education per se.
No. Just in general, how did you get there?
Conducting shows and things, that is something that we just learned going through that. But then once we left that and got into films, I invested with some existing producers in Hollywood and Bollywood in their projects. And I would spend time on the set with them because, it's like, you have to have passion. It's like people, when they are working, all executives, they play golf. I mean, you can find 8 hours a day on a golf course, and that's your passion, right? So my passion was obviously this. So I would find time to go and be on the sets and learn how they're doing things, how the craft is, how the cameraman is angling. So you learn a lot. So after having few projects like that, I was able to then say, let me produce my own project. So we got into that. And then, obviously you surround yourself with a good team. That is all very important in anything, actually, whether it's industrial business or any type of business, for that matter. I think in any field you're in, you're as good as your team, honestly speaking.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can only do so much yourself. Yeah.
That's great. That's great advice for people listening, guys. If you're still here, wait, there's a lot more coming. So you operate in boardrooms and film sets, right? Think of that. Where do you feel yourself that Aron, more yourself, and why?
I would say equally both. When I directed that film, You Are My John, and I was on the set and working, and I wrote the script, and then, we worked with the production team to design the sets and this and that. So it's all because ultimately when you are trying to create something and you want it to come out the way you want, it has to be done the right, and you have to have the team and the people who can execute it. Now, same thing when we are working on a project here where we are building a air pollution control system for a steel furnace or plant and all that. We need to understand all the components, what the scope is, what it is, and we get into the nitty-gritty because we have to make sure we are taking care of all the details. And then what control systems you are putting, what it is and all that. And then you have to have the right engineers, the project engineers, the mechanical, and who will execute, who will design this thing, manufacture it, have it installed, and make sure it performs and start it up. So there are similarities in that field also. And I would say even other businesses that way. So you need a total approach for that, whether it's entertainment business also, because, a lot of times you go see a film, it's a crap in, crap out. People don't spend the time that is needed. And sometimes, if you just seem to think everything and you just go with that thought and it doesn't come out. You need to be open to ideas. You need to listen. And that's happened a lot to me also, being that actually I would say, because I was always my own boss, and you develop a tendency to dominate, okay? Because nobody's ever told you, that you never worked for somebody else. You've not been in a position where you had to listen to other people to tell you what to do. So it's important to always keep your mind open and say that, listen, I don't know anything. I could be wrong. And then listen to people, even junior engineers or people, sometimes they come up with good ideas. And same thing applies in the filmmaking also. Sir, we can do it this way, that way, that way. And then I'll think back and I say, yeah, you know what? He does have a point there.
You're preempting a lot of my questions. You already answered a bunch of things about leadership.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, please. This is good because I don't have to worry about it. So my audience is listening. I go, rapt attention, I'm sure. You learn from this, you learn from that. There's no such thing as you know it all, because you don't really know, because not everything. And you bring in the right people to put it together. So I was about to ask you, do you believe that creativity makes you a better CEO or leader? Or did leadership make you a better artist? So I think you kind of touched on that.
I would say both qualities are essential because creativity, thinking outside the box, doing that allows you need an edge in every
Mm.
field. I mean, whether if you're growing your business, you're doing things. And that's what I was saying earlier when we started out, that how do you do that? You need tools. And
Yeah.
I've seen the tools have changed. When I started in college, I had a slide rule. I
Hmm.
used to use that. Then we had the beepers, and then we had the phone, and maybe I'm giving away, but I've been sorry, I've been around the block too long, but at least I'm with the technology, and now we can't live without our cell phone, and
Hmm.
now the AI is coming. So yes, creativity is important, but how do you make that creativity? How do you make yourself aware that you are creative? What you are creative in 80s and 90s is not the same creativity which is today.
Yeah.
Okay, and that applies in technologies also. We have to constantly do that. And leadership quality also is important, because the people that you're surrounding, the generation, the people, maybe they were different because our demeanor was different in the 90s and
Hmm.
2000. Now we get young kids who are working, they are very different. They
That's right.
always have cell phone on, they are doing multitasking, as a leader, as a someone, you must be aware of all those things. You cannot rule unless you're in the army, or maybe, I don't know, you can't really rule with the scale which was good 20
Hmm.
years ago. Now, you always have to see yourself and say, hey, if I'm saying I'm leading, first let me examine myself. Is this what is needed to be a good leader?
I was not going to go through this AI stuff here, but because it's part of what I do as well. I know you're doing your AI systems for your industrial business. How are you finding within your organization the receptiveness and the ability to actually receive this well, that it's going to make our productivity better, et cetera, and it won't take away our creativity? How are you applying it?
Obviously, AI is a relatively new concept the last few
Sure.
years. It's up to us at the corporate level, management level, to get involved and see how we can do that. And
Sure.
we work with consultants and people, and the people who are with us, IT people and all that, to help us, how we can do that. So we are looking at all the options, how we can improve and increase the productivity. But fortunately for us, in the sense that we are in a highly technical business. I would say certain businesses which are not so technical, maybe they are more easier, can easily be done by AI, which is at this
Mm.
stage. Maybe it will change over a period of time. For us to do the technical stuff we do, we still need AI, human beings and engineers.
Sure.
And it cannot be done, maybe simple answering and accounting and certain functions can be done with the AI
Sure.
process. But we are open to it, we are learning, and we are keeping an eye on it. Plus we are also developing platforms of our own, because that's where the industry is headed.
Correct.
Looking at, like, we are in the energy, we deal with power companies, and there is a big demand coming up for energy, in the sense that data centers are coming up, they demand
Hmm.
a lot of power. So
Yep.
it's become very important for companies who produce power, or companies that use power, that
Mm.
they are operating at a very high efficiency and productivity. You can look at the data, past data, and you can look at patterns, and you can do predictive analysis, and that's where AI comes in. And a lot of companies are doing that in every different field. So we are also looking at, with our customers, how we are creating a
Okay.
platform where we can offer them and give them an edge.
I
So
see.
if they can improve their efficiency, production efficiency, even between 5 and 10%, that would be a huge savings. Or if they can do a predictive maintenance as to certain components, when will they fail, before they failed, and the downtime, they can reduce that. So all these things.
Does that not necessitate your team to also therefore understand what this platform can do? Because they have to then adopt it for themselves, right?
Yeah, we have to work with the outside engineers who write the codes and
Right,
all
right, of
that,
course. Yeah.
and then they develop it. But as we need to have the technical people to understand the business side of it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And then they will work, but then you have to work with
The client.
outside people to
Right.
actually make our platform that we are in the process of developing, and then we're going to be implemented. And
Okay.
then same thing going to the entertainment field. What's happening with the VFX, special effects, and CGI, and a lot of that digital world creation, things are becoming so blurry that you cannot tell what is a real shot and what is a created shot. So
That's
that
right.
all is even changing more so with the AI and all that. So even we talked about my chapter and all that, there's such an exciting times, and I feel
Yes.
fortunate that there's so much to learn and to adapt and to understand and implement. to the extent you can do everything. That's why I spend a lot of my time, a certain time every day, just learning and reading about all the stuff that is there. That's very important to keep yourself
Absolutely.
updated.
So, see, there you go. Learning, another big one for leaders too. A lot of them are closed-minded because I have no time to learn something new. Well, time is all your concept in your mind.
No, because you know what? You always have time. The question is, where is that time going?
Where does it go? Yeah, I have a lot of questions, and I'm saving some time for rapid fire. You open to rapid fire, I assume, for 5 minutes at the end.
Okay.
Rapid fire gives you the ability to go fast, but also things we didn't touch on is kind of like what I do here. What is the boldest move Aron has ever made, which did not make sense on paper?
I would just say maybe do a lot of leverage buyouts and stuff over the years. These were chance of happening were difficult, but then I was able to make it happen. So, I've grown through acquisitions. Some of them at times I would say, yeah, they were bold moves like that. From business standpoint, I would say, yeah.
I was honored to present to you in 1992, I think it was, or 93 maybe, the Businessman of the Year award in New York on a yacht. Remember? How can you not remember that? So I remember that day because I think, wow, you're asking me to present the award. So that was just one of the very early ones that I know you have had so many more, and we'll put all them in the show notes. So at your level now, Aron, what's more dangerous, playing safe or trusting your instinct too much?
Just going back, I've also learned over the years that, it's good, bold in the sense that if you can say bold is taking a risk, let's say, right? Risks sometimes will pan out and not. So as you get more experience in life, you realize what risk you should take and you should not take. Okay. For me at this point, after having gone through, there have been ups and downs. I mean,
of course.
I would say I was doing a very big acquisition, and Drexel Burnham was my investment banker. And you know what happened in 87?
Sure.
Okay, the Black Friday.
Yep.
And we were raising at
That's
that
the
time.
day I joined Morgan Stanley.
So, we were doing a big acquisition and they were raising a lot of money for us. Had that acquisition gone through or something, that would have put me in a different league. Black Friday happened and there was nothing anybody can do. They went under, the whole deal came apart and all that stuff. So certain times you have, even if you do everything the way you want to do, but there are factors which are not under your control. So you always have to take that also, when you are making a decision, that there is some chance that something like that. So all these factors come into play. So right now, I guess over the years, once you reach a certain stage, the question is, do you really need to take that kind of a bolder risk, or you should be content, like as we say, spread your feet as long as is your bed. Okay. I mean, not more than that. And you can still accomplish a lot that way, but you also see sometimes what gives you unhappiness. Unhappiness comes when you don't get what you want. Okay. Honestly, if you set expectations, I was able to accomplish this. I was able to accomplish this. God, I can't do it last 2-3 times. I'm not able to do this thing. What's going on here? I'm still pretty good. You need to start looking at all the variables. Everything was on your plate and all that. And if you keep things within your limit, you'll find that, everything is okay and you're fine. So a lot of things are all related in life at this point.
Well, you're not going to take it all with you anyway.
Yeah, you can. Like after a certain point, it's like a sense of accomplishment, thrill of accomplishment. When you do something big or something great, like I remember when we landed a huge job ourselves, a project, $30-40 million single project. That is a sense of accomplishment in those days. It's like, I'll go back. When I first got my job as a chemical engineer, I bought a Dodge Dart, my brand new car of my own for $5,000. And the feeling was great. Like I'm driving a brand new car, Dodge Dart, and I was in my early 20s and all that. It's like, wow, I'm flying up. And then I even bought a Rolls Royce, 25 years later. Yeah. But you can't replicate that feeling. Yeah.
And, the feeling may last 6 minutes, or somebody says maybe 5 years, but then it moves on, right? You got to figure out what's next for you. Or some people just don't even bother because I don't need to go. I'm good where I am. So it's a question of where do you want to see your passion push you? Intuition and reasoning were, they're two kind of opposite in a way, right? Do you trust your intuition or do you just go with your reasoning?
It's a very, very good question, because at times I have felt, I should have listened to my intuition. And other times I say, you know what? You're smart enough. You have a lot of experience, and you should have known that, listen, this is the way it should have gone. It's a very difficult thing to say in life, and you will never be 100% correct all the time
Sure.
about it. But I think if you have a balanced mind and then you approach things in a certain way all the time, chances are that it's all about percentages also. I think Roger Federer once said that, I've lost half the points and I've just won, I don't know why exactly, I forget,
Yes.
like 1% more, and I'm so successful.
Yes.
So it's not about that.
But it's always about the little 2 millimeter difference. That's the end. Because
Yes.
you're not that, everybody's so good, whether it's golf, tennis, or others. It's like, how much better could somebody be? Just that little slightly.
Exactly. So I think you just have to take things that way. For me to say it's always reasoning or intuition, and always.
But sometimes you have reasoning. The power of reasoning is that you know enough to be able to say, even though my gut's saying something else, you don't know which ones you're killing, your gut feelings, or which one you're saying, okay, this is my reasoning also supports my gut.
But George, you know what? It's like in the basketball I watch, the coach says, let the game come to you. Okay.
That's right.
Let the game come to you. Same thing.
That's
I
so
feel
true.
after having gone through experiences, I will make the right decision, which will have a combination of intuition or reasoning. I won't have to knowingly do that.
Yes.
You reach
it's part of you.
Yeah, it becomes part of you, and then you'll make it. And then if you made a wrong decision, you live with it. That's the way life is. Yeah.
Okay, so I have at least 10 other questions, but I know that we don't want to bore the crowd. For me, there's 10 more questions here. But I think I'm going to jump into rapid fire because it may cover some of the questions I didn't ask. Okay? So don't think too much about this. Just say whatever comes to mind, okay? That's the purpose of this one. Okay, one word your younger self needed to hear.
One word my younger self needed to hear?
Yeah, when you were young, let's say.
Yeah, don't be so...
One word.
One word. Be humble.
Okay. So I'm not going to explore that, but maybe sometimes we will. Okay, why do you say that now? Weren't you not humble then? Because you started by saying I'm a humble person. But you are humble, and maybe you weren't then. That's what that implies.
I would say I really thought I could accomplish everything. In that sense, maybe humble in the sense that I was perhaps, I got success early. Or maybe arrogant, I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. A risk you're glad you took.
I quit my very great job and started my business. And had I not done that, I probably would have stayed in a job, and I would have risen in that also. But yeah.
Sometimes I'm accused that I'm encouraging my audience to quit their job. I'm not suggesting that at all, because I was in corporate life for 30 years. But you have to examine where you are and where you're at. So I totally appreciate what you're saying as far as you quit, I quit. That's the best thing that happened to me after working 30 years in my life.
Because it was against belief, what I believed and all that at that time.
Yes.
I just couldn't take what was being done. So I just did it, So yeah, exactly.
So that's when you took. What about a risk you waited too long to take?
I can't say I waited too long. I'm a very fast guy. I don't wait too long for anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fill in this blank. Power is?
Power is ability to do what you want without depriving others of their rights.
Beautiful. I love that one. I'm going to use that. I'm going to give you the credit for it, if I use it, without depriving others of it. Good. Success without fulfillment is?
Success without fulfillment means nothing.
Okay, is nothing. Okay. See, now that's what I've been working on. Telling people to be focused on fulfillment, because eventually you could be successful in other terms and you're not going to be happy. Right. Excellent. One habit that changed your leadership and your style?
I guess persistence.
Okay. One belief that you're still questioning?
One belief that I'm still questioning. Uh, I at this stage, too much has happened. This that I have pretty much. I don't question anything. As I said, I would say I don't have anything that I question myself about.
I mean, you have beliefs. Obviously, we operate based on beliefs, right? You know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So there's nothing that you want to question at this stage in your life. That's what you're saying.
Well, you reach a point where you know your abilities, you know your shortcomings, you know what is you're good at, and all that stuff. So, I mean, I would say when I was early years, when I was starting my business, I used to question, did I make the right decision to go into my own field? Like that. And so, what happens is sometimes, if we talked earlier, if you don't accomplish what you are trying to accomplish, then you question your abilities and all that.
Yes.
So then you also then learn to do that. Maybe you're biting more than you can chew, so you set different goals and all that. So you are able to do that. So at this point, yeah, I'm not,
Okay.
we're
Fair enough.
content.
Legacy to you is?
Legacy to me is to have people, have some kind of a people remember you by that you were a good person, you cared for the people you knew, and they admire you.
Okay. I guess we're all looking for that, some variation of that.
Yeah.
Final question. What question should every leader that's listening to this ask themselves, but they don't?
I think we need to ask ourselves how I can be a better person, how I can do more than what I'm doing. Look at yourself, as if the farther you can look back, the more farther ahead you'll go. So the question is to always examine yourself and look at, you have to analyze yourself. You have to grade yourself and find a way and say how I can be better, how I can be better.
Excellent. Well, I know this has been a long time in the making. We haven't done this. But I thank you for taking the step to come and be part of this show for me and my podcast. I've talked to you about it several times. In that same way of gratitude, I'm going to ask you if there's anything in this conversation that you learned.
Well, it's actually, we didn't know what we were going to discuss. And first, I also want to take a moment to thank you. And I see how you have grown this bold, conscious leadership coaching and all that, what you're doing. And I really admire that. And I've seen you over the years also grow in this field a lot, which is admirable. Okay. And I think it's a good way because I don't usually sit down like that, to be able to recall things and do that. You sort of reflect on yourself.
Yes.
And you learn a lot more about yourself also, which is important, which I was saying. So yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah. So most people, when they come here and ask that question, they say, it's playing a tape in a short period of time about my life. And I have never done that. Most people haven't done that because I'm trying to put it all together in this one little reel for us to learn, because I'm learning. I learned a lot in this conversation as well about you, more about you that I didn't know, but we even met last week. So it's just funny that, like, wow, I didn't know this about, Aron. And I'm learning about myself too. Like, hey, sometimes it's just superficial stuff. Hey, the voice is failing because I'm still recovering from the flu, whatever it may be. But the learning of what you're discussing and the questions I'm asking also are helping me to respond to myself. Like, do I act this way? Ooh, okay, that's interesting. I'll go back and watch this interview again. So thank you. Thank you for all that.
Thank you. Thank you, Raju.
All right.
Yes.
So maybe another time I'll ask you these other questions that I didn't get to ask.
Sure. I'll be happy to. And then again, thanks a lot. Really enjoyed being with you.
It'll be a pleasure.
Look
all the very best to you in your next movie or next other initiative
Yes,
that you're going to be doing?
There's one script I have on my thing. When I have some time, I'm going to be working on it. Yes, I'm not done yet.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Talk to
Very
you
good.
soon.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you, my friend, for tuning in to another episode of Bold Conscious Connections. If you really enjoyed this episode, give it a thumbs up, please, and subscribe for more inspiring stories and insights from top entrepreneurs and leaders. So that button is right below here. So join our vibrant community of individuals who are out there making a difference. Okay? Stay tuned for more amazing conversation that will inspire and empower you. And until next time, remember, live boldly and consciously, my friend.